ladies and gentlemen, everyone around and in between. It is Debate Sensei NFALD edition. This is where we talk about things relevant to competitive debate for the National Forensics Association. I have with me the Director of Debate of Western Kentucky, Chad Meadows, as well as the Director of Debate from University of Nebraska at Lincoln, Dr. Justin Kirk. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. So Grand Prix, we've talked a little bit about it. Remind me, this is kind of like, I mean, NFALD has one nationals. A lot of other associations have two, but this is, am I right? This is kind of as close as it gets to having a second sort of national tournament.
Yeah, I would think this is kind of a regular season, kind of end of regular season championship.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, there's a traveling trophy. The best of the best always show up. It's the last chance you get at your best rivals before nationals, and because the pool's a lot more limited, you're gonna get shots at your rivals. Whereas at nationals, you may not debate the one debater you've been prepping all year and waiting for. Right. You may just be on the wrong side. But at the Grand Prix, your chances are really good that you're going to debate those one or two debaters you've been prepping and you want to have a good debate against. So
I would say NFA is the nationals, Grand Prix is nationals.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. And so you were mentioning a traveling trophy. I'm noticing. I also trying to remember. Is this where like All American is a part of it? I was seeing that in the results on Tab Room that it was listed. I'm like, oh. Tell me a little bit more about that. How'd that go down?
So the All American Award is given for season-long success in NFALD. The requirements are that you do, I think, 3 tournaments. You're going to go to NFA Nationals, and it's voted on by the LD Coach Association, which is a volunteer group of LD coaches who agree to vote on these season-long awards prior to the Grand Prix. So we give out at least 10, and then if we ever got to over 100 in the open division, which I don't know, but if that happened, then we would give out 10% of the open division, but at least 10. The top All-American was Alicia Stout from Truman State University.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations to Alicia.
Yeah,
that's excellent. What's up with the when I'm looking at these results for All American Award submissions, the open sweeps and the team sweeps? What is that?
So basically we give 2 sweepstakes awards.
Okay.
There's open sweepstakes, which is just your top 4 debaters from the like varsity division.
Got it.
And then like overall or combined or whatever is your top 4 results from any division. So novice, JV, or open.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm looking at them, and I guess some congratulations are in order for Western Kentucky. So good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
I believe Nebraska was second. Close.
We were second in the open because our JV showing was very good this year. Also, we should mention that like we have a coach of the year in the room, a second coach of the year in the room. Chad was awarded the Coach of the Year award. I received a very nice nomination letter from another coach and some kind words from one of his debaters. And Chad was an easy choice. I was a voting member, and I thought it was a pretty easy pick. He has been instrumental in our community, and when I got here, he taught me everything I know about NFALD. He certainly hasn't taught me everything he knows about NFALD. I would still be winning. But, you know, I think he's 100% deserving of the award, and it's really awesome that we get to honor coaches who literally do this on their weekends and in their evenings when they should be watching TV shows and playing video games.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, congratulations.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. So I would have not seen it. There are a number of different awards that I'm trying to go through here, but you know, we like focusing on sort of the open division of competition. And we had 30 entries into this tournament, and it breaks to doubles, right? We talked about this before. I mean, not 2 doubles. It has double elimination.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the entry numbers are generally going to be like not low, but like around that size because you're capped at the number of students you can enter per division. So you can only enter your top 5, and then a provisional 6th if numbers like are large enough to where like a team having 6 wouldn't or anything. So I think only one team has 6 this year. And then so we do 5 prelims, and then we break to a double elim. This year we were going to do sort of like an experimental thing where we were going to do like a single elim runoff to get to 16 people in the prelims, but it actually just kind of worked out perfectly that 16 people had the 3-2 record, and so like the 16 and double elims just kind of worked out perfectly.
I saw that. I'm like, oh man, that like Tab Room loves to see that. When that happens.
Well, and in a double elim tournament, I don't know if we talked about this in the previous podcast, but there's like a magic number for double elim tournaments, and if you can get to that magic number, you can have way fewer rounds because the winners bracket and the losers bracket kind of stay with an even number. Once you create an odd number in one of those brackets, you start creating all sorts of problems in double elim tournaments. And so getting to like 8 or 16 or 4 is really useful for making sure the tournament doesn't end at 4 a.m.
Right. Right. Okay.
This was, I think, from a TAB perspective, and I know people probably don't care that much about this, but I think from an administration perspective was the best Grand Prix. Like it didn't end that late. I think finals was over maybe 9:30.
I think decisions were over by 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like the round
you were eating Waffle House at like 9:30.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear that it went pretty smoothly. All right. And so we had 16 students break to the first elimination rounds. Justin, I'm seeing your name all through the
we abused Justin. So there's I don't know if I call it a preference system, but like it's basically like there's 3 levels. There's a 1, a 2, and a strike. And judges like Justin who get double ones from almost every competitor tend to get a little abused in the elims.
Yeah, well, and as a caveat, I didn't judge a whole lot of prelims. I think I judged 2 prelims, and I told Parker, I was like, I haven't judged a lot. Put me in every debate it fits. And these are great debates. I love judging good debates, and so having the opportunity to see all these students, plus there's a little bit of scouting advantage when you get to judge a bunch of these students right before national. So I've got a little bit of a vested interest to judge more debates, but I also didn't judge a whole lot this year. I tabbed 4 tournaments this year, and so I just haven't seen a lot of these debaters throughout the year. So it was kind of nice to judge 7 elim debates in 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen some friends of mine, Tony Nielsen in France, went out there. So that was Fullerton's entry, huh? So we just got to give a little shout out to a local school, at least local to me.
Fullerton's been bringing it. The last couple of years, they've had a lot of novices and JV debaters, and Tony's been really pushing that team to get better every year, and so that's really great.
Okay, very cool. All right, so the big breaks. I mean, Wiki, what broke 4, 3, 1, 2, 4? Holy moly! Holy moly!
It was probably our best team-wide outcome, I think, all year.
Oh wow! Well, okay. Congratulations. So
we both, me and Justin, have really young teams. We have one senior who is like started as a true novice and has gone to 2 tournaments this year. So everyone else is a freshman or sophomore, and then we have 1 junior. So like we're mostly like, I think, and UNL is kind of the same. Like we are mostly freshman sophomore teams. So it's been kind of like building up to the Grand Prix for us has been kind of like what we've been doing is like we're gonna figure things out. We've got some debaters who are kind of locked and ready to go for the year and have had some success, but for a lot of them it's been building fundamental skills, it's been building foundational stuff over the course of the year. So getting a lot of them to the elims at the GP, which I think the boost that they hopefully will take with them to NFA.
All right. Washburn also came in strong. They also broke 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy moly. Not bad.
And that's been them all year. And honestly, like, they've been super deep across the board at pretty much every tournament. And then there's a lot of debaters that are good.
And they're a lot like North Texas. They're also a bit of an older squad. A lot of these students are juniors and seniors this year and have been kind of working towards this for a while. So it's not surprising to see like Cade and Dan and Andrew just consistently breaking this semester. You know, I mean, like they've been pretty consistently breaking 4 to 5 students everywhere we go. So
we had a couple of teams break too. We got Truman State, we got North Texas. They've been strong all year long too, right? I mean, Truman has Alicia Stout, obviously, but also, okay.
Yeah, I think the one big missing variable this weekend was North Texas's top debater, Zach Jones, who's debated Ray a couple of times, did not attend the tournament.
Okay.
And so I think if there's one like kind of unwritten story of the Grand Prix, it would have been like, what's the counter narrative if Zach had entered the tournament, right? Because I think that a lot of things might have shaken out a little bit differently. I don't know that the end result would have necessarily been different, but I think that, you know, a team missing their top player who's a senior who's been consistently in finals all year, that's a big deal for a tournament not to have a student there. So I would say that like that's the only variable I see here that may change at nationals between now and a month from now,
because it's pretty assured that he's going.
I would imagine, sure, but
okay. All right, I'm looking at this first elim and I noticed only one AF win.
I didn't know.
And that was
talk about that.
I actually judged that debate.
You were in one AF win.
And I can talk about that a little bit. So Washburn read a counterplan strategy that was very similar to the final round strategy.
Okay.
In fact, and when I thought back about like my decision in the final round, maybe Ray had seeded some of these like competition arguments I ended up voting on like early in elim 1, because these are the arguments that like I ended up voting against Ray on in finals. But Dan ran a counterplan that I didn't think was super competitive. Ray went all in on the counterplan doesn't compete. You should reject the counterplan, kick the page. And it was like, as you can tell from the decision, it was a pretty quick 3-0 for the theory arguments on the counterplan. It was just a weird debate. And I think that like, given the nature of the counterplan, it was a consult NATO counterplan. Ray felt like theory was probably the easiest route to the ballot with that panel. Me looking at that panel with me and Kristen Stout on it, I'd have been like, counterplan theory is a pretty straightforward approach because we'll both vote on a winning argument, you know? Whether or not we agree that the counterplan is or isn't competitive, Ray's a debater that can win that theory debate in the 2AR, you know?
Yeah, okay. And so it's just a weird coincidence that every other round, 7 negs, 1 AF. Like, is that normal?
I mean, I think that's just kind of variance, I would say. I don't think this year's been particularly biased on one side or the other.
Okay. So like if you flipped 8 coins, then eventually you'd get a 7-1, you know. All right.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. The second elim, this is everyone still in, but we got people that are fighting to stay in. Much more even on that one. You're watching the lone Missouri State break against one of the Washburn teams.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And that was a very good debate. It was close. Okay. And Missouri State's Addie Kimmerly is somebody who hasn't competed a lot on the circuit this year.
Okay.
But typically she's an NDT seeded debater. But I really enjoyed watching her debate. It was the first time I had seen her debate, and I think 2 years. And she was very clean and technical. And Andrew just had I think a better kind of strategy for winning the panel than necessarily like. So Andrew was like, hey, I've got a strategy that can win 2 of these 3 judges for sure, and kind of went all in on that. And I think Addie was really close to flipping that decision, but yeah, it was a close debate. It was very good. And Andrew's I think Andrew's probably Washburn's best debater right like at this moment, just putting it all together in the right ways.
Is there anybody who maybe didn't break that deserves like a shout out, or there was it's like, oh man, that's unforeseen?
Oh, let's see.
I'll answer for Justin. I think Grant was someone that I thought was going to break. Nebraska's Grant McKeever. I think we actually had a bubble debate with Grant, Antonina, and Grant. I think hit in round 5 on the bubble.
We had 3 bubble debates in that round. Ray debated Juliana and beat Juliana. Hannah debated Omema and lost. And then Antonina and Grant debated and won. And so we had 3. Western Kentucky and UNL had 3 round 5, and Western Kentucky won 2 of those. So, and that's, I mean, I think that's just kind of a story of like where our squads are right now. We're hunting right in the middle of the pack and scraping against each other for every win we can get.
Yeah.
So at this point, after the second elimination, like, what's happening in the back room of like Western Kentucky? I don't know if you are part of that or anything.
So after the second elim, kind of what are we thinking?
Yeah. Like first off, like who got through, and then what's the temperature like backstage?
So I remember the kind of big vibes where we were definitely really excited about Antonina's win over Daniel Archer. That was a big win for us from like a team overall perspective, and for her. I feel like similar to like Joseph Wooford, I feel like their outcomes this season haven't been sort of like matching where I think they are like in terms of skill. And so like getting an elim win at the Grand Prix was good for her, and keeping her into the elim 3 was awesome. I remember had lost to Alicia. Nick had lost to Alicia, which I don't know, like weren't that bummed about it, to be honest, because it was like we got a ballot.
Yeah,
it was a 2-1 decision,
and it was in the first.
Nick's a freshman. So like they weren't totally expecting to like win that today. I mean, they obviously are going in there super hard, but they weren't expecting. So like, you know, we were, so I think we were really excited. I mean, Ray was in a good spot. We felt like in the elim debate. So yeah, we had 3 in it after elim 2, and we were really excited about that.
Yeah,
and then we had some JV stuff, and we were fighting for our lives against the Nebraska JV squad.
Yeah, it was one wiki debater and I think 4 of us left in the JV bracket, and we basically had 3 shots to beat Jacayla Brown. And it was just like, all right, kids, this is the order of operations. You get Jacayla first, you get Jacayla second, you get Jacayla third. We just need to beat her once to win this tournament. But that's how it's been. I was going back and entering results from like UNT. That's how it was at UNT. It was Block and Jacayla were the final round at UNT. So it's like Jacayla has been kind of fighting the UNL wave all year, and I'm sure she's sick and tired of hearing that.
Well, yeah, I didn't check out the JV results. That's interesting. That was going on at the same time. But hey, after elim 2, you still have is it Omaima?
Yep.
Okay. Is still in there. Not bad.
No, and she she's somebody who has been really steadily getting better. I think she's somebody who has a lot of unrealized potential. She's in her 3rd year. And I honestly think that, last year in JV at the Grand Prix, she was, I think, in the 5th elim in JV or something like that. She went pretty deep. So she's always had the talent. And I think part of it is adapting her argument style. In many ways, the same problems that like Andre and Jacayla have had in the past, reading anti-blackness arguments in debate, adapting to judges who don't necessarily agree, but you need to still read that argument in front of to win, right? And Omaima's been kind of figuring that out throughout the year. So yeah, getting to the 3rd elim was really awesome for her. And I think really kind of a stellar accomplishment in her season. So, and then she was 4th speaker overall at the tournament, which I think is a testament to how well she spoke.
Oh, excellent. Okay, excellent. Now you watched Western Kentucky, North Texas.
Yes.
That seems like a pretty heavy round.
It was a preview of finals.
And
it was very close. I mean, this was a round where, I think that it was much more of a kind of straightforward debate. Ray read their AF, Joe read Baudrillard.
Really?
Which it was kind of Joe's strategy at this tournament, but I think their coaches had kind of like really kind of dug into some of the literature. It was a very good Baudrillard argument. I just think that knowing what was coming, Ray kind of had a 1AR. This is one of the things about debating Ray Fournier that I kind of noticed this weekend is Ray does not make mistakes in the second speech when they're AF. They don't make 1AR mistakes. And so to give an NR against somebody who does not mess up anything in the 1AR is really difficult when you've only got like 1 or 2 pieces on the board, like you're reading a Baudrillard K. You need a lot of weapons to beat Ray in a debate. And so I think in that debate, it was more so just kind of the strategy helped Ray kind of consolidate the round a little bit and strategically keep the debate smaller, win some kind of framing arguments. And then just kind of frame the rest of the debate out. Ray only had to win a couple of arguments to win that debate by the end of the debate. So
So you does Wiki have a Baudrillard strategy, or is it more of a general strategy?
So first of all, I watched North Texas at the Shirley in November debate Navy, and I judged that debate, and they went for the Baudrillard critique. So I had not only gotten to see it on the wiki, but I have seen it deployed by North Texas in a full policy round. So like we had a pretty good sense not only of like what the NC would look like, but kind of like what the pivots would look like, and where, in my opinion, the weaknesses of the argument kind of lied. I also sent the block that we read to an alumni who got their master's degree in some Baudrillard stuff at Virginia Tech. A really popular author right now is A Trip and Debris for Baudrillard, and he studied under them, and so I showed them the block. So we had honestly been prepping for that debate for a while because, like, as Justin said, a lot of I think what Ray's advantages are in the AFR is just like ruthless efficiency. Like we do a lot of AF prep, so like we in debates like Baudrillard, that's kind of like the debates where it's like, okay, things might get a little wonky in this round. Where, I think that things can go awry. So we had done a lot of prep, I think, for that debate, and we had kind of also kind of gamed out, what we wanted the 2AR to look like, and I think we ended up hitting it at least twice, and I think both times got a win. So the preparation there worked out for this tournament really well.
Okay. All right. Now we're off to Elim 4. How many? We're down to the magic number 4 teams here. Yeah.
There's eight left.
Yeah, 8 teams for 4 rounds. I'm sorry.
But I think the Elim 3 to Elim 4 is where it starts to really feel it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You lose 4 debaters, and generally you look at the Elim 4 and it's like, wow, like there's nothing here that's going to be easy. Every debate that you're going to have in this pool is going to be pretty rough.
And that was Omaima's last round on
the 30 lim was Omaima's round. And she lost to Addie Kimmerly. Missouri State went for the capitalism K, which is a pretty typical strategy against anti-blackness, and it's just a hard debate to have, right? Like it's the one place where policy debaters can go that they've had 10 debates on. Yeah. And it's not just like framework against an anti-blackness debater. Those are much more controllable debates for the NEG. And we prepped Omaima the way we figured we should, but like I said, she's somebody who's still figuring out how to win those judges that don't 100% agree with her position, and debating somebody from Missouri State like Addie, who's just solid and knows how to go for cap and has been practicing that all year on the NDT circuit. Like it was just a tough debate for us. So.
Well, in the end, we got 2 Western Kentucky teams still in, 2 Washburn, so they're still taking up half the field. But we got 2 North Texas. Both are still in. My goodness. Yeah. But then it's Truman and Missouri. Holy moly.
All 8 of those students I think are rock solid.
Yep. Yeah. I think a lot of them were discussed on the projections in previous episodes.
Well, and I think any of these 8, I think if you look at this page, these are the 8 people who can probably win nationals and add Zach Jones in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So these 8 plus Zach Jones probably are the 8 that have the best shot to win.
Okay. We know what happens here. How about your 2 Western Kentucky teams? You know how that round goes?
Yes, this was probably, I think, kind of like the turning point from us having a good tournament to a great tournament for us.
Okay.
This Elim, because we beat Alicia on the AF. I think we broke a new AF, like an AF that we had kind of prepared to break against Alicia. It's not like super wild, it's just disarm AF, but like we had kind of like prepared to break a disarm AF and talked about how it might be deployed against the like arguments that she typically goes for.
Yeah.
And then I think the more surprising outcome was Nick beating Cade. I don't know that Nick had beaten Cade this year. They've had a few debates. If if Nick has beaten Cade, it was like once, and Cade's beaten us at least 2 or 3 times. So that was super awesome for Nick, because it's basically Nick has been like on the cusp of like this group, but hasn't quite ever been able to get their sort of like head above water in it. And this was kind of like the first tournament where they like got big Elim wins.
Nice.
That kind of like helped their confidence a lot.
Oh man.
I think in this debate we just I mean, I don't remember exactly. I mean, I think we just went for the critique.
Okay. All right. You weren't judging this round, Justin, but
I judged, I think, JV or novice finals.
Is that what you were? Okay. But you were in the next round. This was
we gave Justin no breaks.
They gave me no breaks. In fact, I think I judged Ray 4 times at this tournament. So in this round, it was North Texas John Sims and Ray, and this was basically a straight up NFU debate with some complicated. What? No. This was the psychoanalysis debate. That's right.
This was the psycho debate.
So John Sims reads psychoanalysis.
We had to slay every component of the UNT postmodernism.
Yes. All the European polos. And so Ray, I think this is very similar to the Baudrillard debate. Given that this is kind of like the top competition for Ray this year in the final stages, you think about these debates all the time. What are we going to say to this psychoanalysis app? I am certain that Chad and Ray have sat around for hours talking about this app. Ray just executed. I mean, that's the thing about Ray is like John was in the debate the whole time, and it was a close debate. It's the fifth round at in Elims. It's going to be a close debate. But you have 3 flow judges in the back, and the little kind of tiny things that are the game changers, Ray was just slightly ahead on in those debates. So,
all right.
Did we go over framework in that debate?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That was, I don't know. I feel like we went around and around and around with the prep for that debate. And in the end, we were just like, we have invested so much time into the strategy, and we're not convinced that any of our arguments are better than framework, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think like, so the plan was to go for framework. The plan was to like present enough threatening arguments that were good in quality and prepared against the affirmative that would sort of like whittle down how much they could really say on framework, and then we were just going to pounce on framework.
Okay, but both teams pick up on this in this round. Holy moly!
Yeah, this debate was the Nick v. Alicia debate. I think that was probably like the biggest surprise outcome of the weekend, I would say.
Yeah.
Was Nick picking up over Alicia. Because Alicia's, I mean, so good, so dynamic as a speaker, as a debater. Nick has an affirmative that's about the sort of like engagement with disability and nuclear weapons. And I don't remember exactly what argument Alicia went for in this debate, but the judges were not vibing.
But that sets up a really interesting. I'm not sure where Joseph did. Joseph get a bye or something?
Yeah. Joseph got a bye in Elim 5. Is it randomly assigned? Is that correct? Do they take the pod that has the most, or
so the debater? So it is. You are bye eligible if you are in the down bracket and your loss is to the person who's in the up bracket. And then you take everyone who's bye eligible, and it's a random number. Yeah.
Okay.
So in this debate, I think Alicia and Nick were both, and John Sims were all bye eligible.
Yeah.
And it was just that Joseph got the best number.
Okay. But that means that Ray gets a bye in Elim 6.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's basically that's we basically used old NSDA rules for double elims for qualification, because NSDA quals either are or used to be double elims, and one of the like kind of like ironclad rules is if there's one person in the up bracket and 2 people in the down bracket, the person in the up bracket buys to the final, and then the 2 people in the down bracket debate for the final, which I think is fair, because if Ray loses the final, even though they only had, that would be their first loss, they still would get second, right?
Yeah. So,
well, and I think last year's a great example of that, right? Nick was down 1, debated Andre in finals, who hadn't lost an elim yet, and finals is single elim. So,
yeah.
That debate was good. I judged that debate, obviously. Nick went for their disability arguments again. And I think Joe was just, Joe is a very good critique debater and has a lot of practice on it. And as an affirmative debater, when you've practiced and debated a lot of different critiques, it's very hard for even a nuanced kind of niche critique like disability optimism or disability pessimism. It's pretty easy as a debater like Joe to just kind of figure out what's the easiest path to victory with the affirmative. So I think Joe played the panel pretty well, and picked up, I think, the 2 ballots that were probably the easiest to pick up on that panel.
All right. So that was nearly a closeout at the Grand Prix, which would have been some headlines. But it sets up North Texas on the affirmative, Western Kentucky on the neg, and
I got sat.
I'm looking at it. It's a 4-1.
Look, I saw the debate how I saw. I still haven't changed my mind about this debate, and I think that, like, after hearing Nick's decision, I think that, like, I'm even more convinced that, like, this was a very close debate that depended on how you saw counterplay and competition.
Okay.
And so I can break it down real quick. Joseph was affirmative and read a pretty straightforward. I think he just read the UNT NFU app, and Ray read the policy strat that I think they had prepared for the next NFU debate. I think earlier in the season, Chad said, "You're never going to see the same strat from us twice on NFU." So this was iteration number 35. And
this was we were hitting Zach Jones in a big elim strategy.
Yes. And so the counter plan was questionably competitive. I don't remember exactly what it did, but Joseph's arguments were that the counter plan results in the affirmative, which makes it functionally not competitive, i.e. if the counter plan leads to the AF, it's a kind of question of process of how we get there and not a question of, like, what is the AF. And somebody who's judged a lot of competition debates, I just thought that, like, the 1AR, and this is the one time I'm going to, or I guess the NR, no, Ray didn't mess up a 1AR at this tournament. The NR, Ray, I think, maybe played these arguments down a little bit less in importance. I don't think they mishandled them, but they did not treat them, I think, with the, like, threatening impact on the round that they would have had. Because in my mind, if the counterplane goes away, there's a very low risk of the disad, and the AF probably outweighs the disad. And that is where the other 4 judges basically made their decision the other way. They thought that the theory arguments on the counterplan were insufficient to make it go away. And I thought that there was enough there, plus the kind of nature of the counterplan. You know, and I'm somebody who's got a pretty high threshold on counterplan theory, which I found pretty surprising that nobody else came along with me. You know, but it was a really close debate, and I think it was one of those marginal things that if Ray had done 20 seconds differently in the NR, it's probably a 5-0.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the sense that kind of I had was that we had kind of, like, decisively out researched North Texas on the, like, solvency deficit versus the counterplan solvency, but that we did not do. We left the door open, basically, was my perception. And, like, the 2AR, I think, correctly identified the door, spent a good amount of time on that. And, like, yeah, I mean, I think the 2AR that I saw merited at least 1 ballot. And, you know, I thought it would be, I thought a 3-2 was coming. I think that, you know, for the other judges, I don't know, I can understand definitely also just, like, the psychology of being like, this other team has put clearly a lot of time into this counter plan to, like, demonstrate that it solves the case, and, like, zeroing it. I think some people just have a higher threshold for that. And I think I really like, I think that Nick was also kind of right on that, like, judge instruction from the 2AR was a little lacking. And I think that, like, it was a little too, like, you know what to do if you think that I've won, that the counter plan isn't functionally competitive. And, like, some judges, Justin, 100% know what to do. Some judges are going to make you say it, and some judges are going to be like, okay, what do I do with this? Right? Yeah. So I think that a winning 2AR might have just, like, done more to sort of, like, re-explain the wheel on what does it mean if the 2AR wins that the counter plan isn't functionally competitive.
Right.
And sort of like, how do you resolve that debate, or just go all in also? Like another way to like judge psychology, it's like force them to also just delete your whole 2AR by being like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think also doing the like, if I win, the counterplan goes away. Here's what the debate looks like. None of that was in the 2AR. And so my decision took a long time because I had to kind of reconstruct, if I think the counterplan goes away, what does that weighing look like of the disad versus the AF? And I think that that is a lot of judge instruction that debaters need to do more of in 2ARs when they think that they won theory. Chad and Nick were 100% right about that. Like, you need to tell the judges, how do I evaluate the debate now if I think the counterplan's gone?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it sounds like a really nice tournament that was not only run well, but the outcomes were exciting and everything like that. Congratulations to Ray for winning the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, if I could for just a second, I want to give a shout out to some other award winners. We had emerging debaters. These are awards that are given out to the top 3 debaters in the first or second year of debate. I can't see. Do you have the results list from that, Chad?
Yeah, I just know who they were.
Okay.
So it was Ben Croat from Truman State University, Locke from Nebraska. Is it Locke Wynn?
Locke Wynn, yep.
Yep, from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And then WKU's Cole Ingram.
Yep.
Which, yeah, I think all 3 of them had awesome. I mean, Ben Croat, I think, won so many novice tournaments, won the novice division at the Grand Prix, I believe. Locke has been awesome in JV the entire season, a really strong debater. And then Cole, this is Cole's 3rd or 4th debate tournament ever. And so they could have been a novice, but I don't know. They're just like kind of like a savant with it. It's honestly like kind of weird because like they like just intuitively do things that like you would expect debaters to be doing in their second year. But so they like broke in the JV division, and like when we had kind of looked at it before the tournament, I was like, this division is kind of tough. So I don't know. I think they won an Elam, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were really excited about the Emerging Debater Award and also just like doing pretty well in JV.
Yeah. And then the last award was the Student Choice Award, which is an award that all the students get together on the last day of the tournament and vote for somebody who like not just is competitively successful, but they enjoy interacting with, somebody that they think makes the community better, that brings something extra than just like competitive success to the NFALD community. And that was Alicia Stout winning that award. But a lot of people got a lot of recognition. And I think one really interesting thing, Shanna Carlson brought this up, is that one of her debaters, Connor Rada, who is a JVer, got 3 first place votes from other members of the community. Even though he didn't win the award, he got a lot of recognition as somebody who like people enjoyed debating and being around. And so I like the fact that like the students get to pick somebody that they think represents them as a community and not just the competitive success of the year's outcomes. Because building community, seeing each other at tournaments, that's what keeps kids coming back to the activity. Right.
Tyler Tobias won Judge of the Year.
Okay. Judge of the Year. Congratulations. I noticed that UNL closed out JV. No, right? Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good stuff on that one. So yeah, a lot of good recognition, and not just at this tournament, but this is the culmination of the season so far. I mean, we were talking, having these episodes way back at the beginning of the season, and it's all coming together. Next one is nationals, right?
Yeah, and I think this tournament really is a testament to kind of like the efforts of Chad and people like Parker Hopkins and Louis to like have something that recognizes students in the debate community that is kind of for debaters by debaters, right? Because I mean, you go to NFA and the award ceremony is amazing, but it is part of a larger tournament, right? And I think the debate community is so unique, and the students in it are so unique that there is a level of like, we want a little bit of recognition for them outside of kind of the structures of NFA that give them a little bit more pride than, you know, being one of 12 events.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of hard at nationals to be like, oh, well, there's all these other people winning awards, you know. So
yeah, excellent. All right. Well, we will be back in the future. We're going to be talking about how to transition from here to nationals. All right.
I'm already tired.
Yeah.
I'm taking the weekend off to go
Yeah.
camping, and then we're going to come back and start prepping for nationals. Yeah.
Nice.
Chad, Justin, thank you so much for giving me your insight on all of this, and I'll see you in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.